I was waiting tables at my first job. The CEO of this small healthcare company was sitting there talking to me, and he'd come in early. One of my gigs I had was the breakfast place. And he's like, he finally looked at me, like, he talked to me a couple times. I'd wait on him. He's like, what the hell are you doing here, Adam? Like, you were just like, not like one of these things, not like that. I'm like, well, I had a couple job offers and they were all crap and I didn't want to do them. And so he's like, look, come talk to me. So I went in there, negotiated, and they offered me like 18.5 or something. And I said, no. And so I negotiated for 25 with kind of this ramp up. And I come back and tell my dad, and he's like, and I said, well, they wouldn't give me what I wanted. So I negotiated. He's like, based on what? You don't have any damn skills. Like, well, where were you? Where'd you get the balls to even think you could negotiate? I'm like, well, if you don't ask, you don't know.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Hey, this is William Tincup, Ryan Leary. You're listening and watching Inside the C-Suite podcast. And we have Adam Wray on today, and we are going to learn his story, his journey. And Adam, how are you doing today?
Doing great, William. Ryan,
All
it's
right.
good to be with you guys today.
I like these wipe-off boards that you have on the back because I once had an office. It didn't have any light. I didn't have any windows. It was inside of an inside deal. And it was total wipe-off boards all the way around me.
Was it boards or was it paint on the wall so you could just write all over the wall?
It was boards. It was like what you've got. It was boards, but the entire surface. So like I could John Nash start in one place and just go all the way around my office.
Beautiful minded all the way.
Oh yeah. People would walk.
I like to just see what's on the board itself, see if I can get any good information.
I've had people before. I don't know if you've done this, but I've had people erase stuff before, like we record. They're like, what is that? Is that the recipe to Coke? Like, what are you doing? No one cares. No one's gonna look at your board and know what that is.
He's strategically placed.
Oh yeah.
The weekend.
Oh, yeah, trust me. There's nothing there. Just rambling thoughts on the back. But
don't buy our software.
Yeah.
Have a www link. Have some type of offer. Here's a number. Yeah, here's a demo link. Here's the demo. Just come and do a demo.
These things are awesome, though, to like collaborate. I mean, you think people think you need to engage every visual you can. I love these things.
Oh, 100%. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you doing right now? What's the job?
Yes, CEO and founder of a company by the name of AstrumU, based out of Bellevue, Washington. Been on this journey for the last 5 or so years. And the highlight is basically we're looking at the challenge of information asymmetry between education and industry and how it's not accountable to outcomes at an individual level. And so if you're going to have a skills-based economy, you're ultimately going to need skills measurement tools that can individually measure someone's skills at scale. And right now, whether it's skills-based student success, skills-based hiring, skills-based talent management, there's no way to do this at an individualized level. Everything is designed for aggregate trends, like labor market analytics, aggregate AI. They use self-reported data to anonymize data to labor trends. We go, look, I think there's a way to do that. If you have enough unique data assets to train off your large language models, if you have enough insights from a longitudinal journey, you can do the skills extraction and inference to build a verified skills profile. And so we're building that data services platform. It's a set of API-enabled services that integrate into existing workflows and use cases. And we're deploying it out through large strategic partners like National Student Clearinghouse, who's doing their digital transformation, leveraging our platform so they can enable their data assets. We're doing a beta project with the Army, who's using an app called Skillset that runs on top of our platform where soldiers can load their transcripts up and immediately have a baseline understanding of verified skill profile that says, here's my top 3 career options. Here's my top 3 career ways to leverage education to a better option.
And it's translated. Such a challenge.
Well, it's terrible.
Yeah.
We have 2,000 soldiers right now on that, and kind of ramping that up. And it's a beta. It's, in collaboration with Transition Assistance Program and several forts. And so, yeah, those are the type of things. But we see a lot of opportunity to enable and be kind of the intel inside,
right,
to create the skills measurement tools to go tackle some of these use cases and problems and level the playing field through it.
Right. For the organizations, how large does a data set need to be for you to have some accuracy?
Yeah, it's obviously, like, it depends on whether we're dealing with, we can kind of think of the infrastructure players like Clearinghouse obviously bring a lot of data to the table, but we bring a lot of data as well. We have 209 million learner worker profiles. We have millions of those that are verified. So, for example, I've got a decade plus of transcripts from the University of Washington. I've got, half the HR records for one of the largest telcos in the country. See, and that's just training data. We don't own that data, but it allows us to extract insights at a much higher fidelity than otherwise would be able to accomplish, because you don't have the proper training data. And so, but when we go into an organization, like we're dealing with universities, we'll say, start with your SIS data, student information system. We can expand to learning management systems, co-curricular data, which will all be siloed out. And we'll say, don't worry, it's dirty. We'll use it.
Do you pull out career center data as well, or any of that type of recruiting data?
We will take it. We ultimately are designed to be able to ingest any type of structured to unstructured at scale. And so, it's a thorny problem, and that's why it's taken us 11 patents and multiple years to get the foundation in place to have enough data services to actually go do this. But when you talk to like the chief people officer of one of the largest banks in the country, and they're like, look, we've got tools that are kind of trying to tackle it. Something, is anybody doing it at scale? Can you even see the ability to do it at scale with an aggregate AI tool or a labor market analytics tool? Like, no. Right. Well, guess what? Just dropping the degree is not going to change the equation. You're going to have to give somebody a way to verify it. Hiring managers don't want to get fired, right?
Right. And skills, there's a dimensionality to skills, and you can fill those things in. And again, for me, when the skills wave kind of hit us a couple of years ago, it reminded me a lot of competency models that were 15 years ago.
That's 15 years,
Right? So everyone's going to have a competency model. And it's like, listen, if you don't hire, promote, and fire to a competency model, you may as well not have one. Right? So I feel the same way about skills on some level. I think it's got a little bit more traction. I think it will be adopted a little bit more, hopefully, better than competency models were. But again, it's the same theory. If you hire to it, okay, that's great. But if you just stop there, so what? Then you have a retention issue, because you're not promoting people that are.
You're not using it internally.
Right. You're not using it internally.
If you don't even know what you have.
Right.
And the problem with competency models is competency models are not granular enough. Right. They're generally buckets. And so everybody kind of learned that. And to your point, skills, and I think it's early. Like, the skills-based economy is very early in this game. Agreed. And I think of it as attributes. We're really trying to get at, durable skills, or if you want to call them soft or universal, I don't care. But the bottom line is trying to get at things like leadership, persistence, a willingness to resiliency, things that, agility of mind, critical thinking, along with, a set of hard skills that are pertinent. Yeah, but to your point, and this is where we think, like, the problem right now is everything hierarchically is taxonomy is very static. Like, they set their taxonomy up, they say this is the little box, but skills are evolving constantly.
Shit, minute by minute. And people don't talk about the decay of skills. So we talk about all the additive stuff. So here's how you can grow your skills, tangential and otherwise, etc. But no one talks about skills also have a half-life, that you have the skill. And then if you don't do it for a long period of time, or whatever the bit is, that skill is gone. That's no longer a skill that you have. You might have it on your resume or your LinkedIn profile, not a skill.
Yeah.
I took a CCNA class when I was as a consultant for Capgemini Ernst & Young. I don't know why I did that.
Bless you.
But if you asked me to touch a router right now, I'd be like, screw it. I can touch it, but I can't do anything to it. You know, I'm like, no way. I mean, come on, who are you kidding? I mean, so there's definitely half-life. And the other thing is the corresponding durable skills have compounding value.
Right.
And our engine is in our skills graph, which is designed to be dynamic and constantly vectoring a view of what the skill is and how another person will interpret that skill, is constantly evolving and adapting to that. And we think that's the future.
Ryan, last question before you ask, because I'm just curious about this. Do you think we've shifted to a place like we talked about resiliency and persistence? That doesn't seem like it's something that can be taught. It might be. It might be. I mean, I don't have hard edges here. But like, if I want you to learn how to program in Python, right? Even in a modern context where you can use ChatGPT and other tools to program for you. Okay, fair enough. That can be learned. There's some of these other things that maybe it's harder to, like resiliency or persistence or, you know, those types of things. Do you feel like people will care more now about like these things and I'll teach them the rest, or I can train them the rest? Now, loaded question, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're also talking, the underpinning of that question is nature versus nurture.
That's
and
exactly right.
how much, you know, or like if you had to be raised up hard, you know, but your children weren't, gosh, will they be as strong and persistent, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Look, at the end of the day, I think, look, I don't know whether you can train persistence and things of nature. I do believe that there is a desire to, you know, restart to say, hey, look, give us the putty and we'll move with it. Here's the problem. There's a desire. There's no skills measurement tools to do it.
Right.
Except on small scale. And so, like, look, doing it with 50 or 100, even 300 people doesn't change the equation. You've got to be able to do this in the thousands and the millions. And so we designed for scale. Like we can't, we're not designed to go solve a simple problem. We're designed to go solve complex. And our backers and, you know, and our partners like Clearinghouse and ETS and JFF, you know, they're interested in these large scale challenges as well. And so, you know, it's kind of swing for the moon, you know, or either hit it and crash into the side of the wall. I don't know, whatever.
One or the other.
Which
is a good transition into why we're here today, right? To learn about your journey. Not necessarily just your crashes, but I'm sure we'll have a number of them to talk about. Got those too. So where do we start? How far back can we go? Can we go back into little Adam as a child? And did you have this entrepreneurial spirit the whole way, or where did it start?
So I don't know if entrepreneurs are just DNA wired. I have a suspicion that people that are true entrepreneurs are wired to just be weird.
I'll raise my hand on that one.
There's no doubt about that.
There's inside this book called Lean Analytics, which is about the lean startup movement. The first chapter is about how entrepreneurs are psychopaths. It's the greatest bit in the world because the
I'm
authors.
Not sure if you just offended him or
no.
It's a compliment.
It's because it basically, and this was the bit, right? It's entrepreneurs have to live in the past, present, and future, honestly.
Right.
So do psychopaths. So when a prospect asks you, "Hey, Adam, is this feature done?"
Hell yeah,
and you know it's not done yet, but next Tuesday by the launch it will be done. You say yes. Most entrepreneurs say yes, which is what psychopaths do. So their whole point was, hey, just get at peace with being a psychopath. It's okay. Just love yourself and understand that maybe people don't understand you, and maybe you might get caught in the past, present, and future stuff occasionally, but it's okay.
I just wanted to know if he was an entrepreneur as a kid.
So I don't think about the psychopath component, but as a child, I'll give you two stories where I knew this is where my mind was going to go. One story is, when I was 6, we in the fall, I've grown raised up. I'm raised in Kansas City, though I live in Seattle now, and so I'm kind of KC boy at the heart. And so we have beautiful falls. And so during the fall, we had leaves all over the front yard, and somehow I set up a stand to sell leaves to all my friends, which they bought. I got candy, I got money and everything. And my mom was abhorred. She's like you're scamming them. Like, you're selling them leaves. I'm like, no, I'm selling leaves. They're buying it. It's great. And another mother comes up, and my mom's like, look, I'm sorry that I did. She's like, what are you complaining about? My kid's the dumbass that bought the leaves. And so it's like stuff like that. It's like, I don't know. The other story, which is kind of akin to is, and I honestly do not know how I came up with this, but somewhere along the line, I heard that, and it probably tells you how screwed up portions of my childhood were that I even found this out, because I'm like sub 10, but I found out that Hugh Hefner had no heir. And so I got on my mind that I wrote a letter to Hugh Hefner. I don't know what my mom did with it, but I wrote a letter to Hugh Hefner saying, look, if you need an heir, I'm willing to step in and be your heir. And I'm like, I don't know where a 7 or 8-year-old gets the idea of this, but anyway, that's my starts me down a path.
Let's talk about how you knew.
Talk about a man that had the perfect job
Yeah,
at that particular time. Wore pajamas. Dude woke up in pajamas, stayed in pajamas.
Yeah.
Not exactly akin to my lifestyle, but
No.
for some reason, I think all I saw is, hey, he's got a business. He gets to do what he wants. This sounds like a good thing.
Could be your son.
Exactly. I'm happy to be. Ryan, you had a question. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just asking how he knew of Hugh Hefner at 7
Well,
years old.
That's the part we can't talk about.
That's the part where you just give you a sense my life was very screwed up as a child.
Yeah.
Which means we were the American family. If everything could go wrong, we did go wrong, from divorce
100%.
to craziness, and you name it in the middle.
A lot of national parks, a lot of camping. Totally get it.
Luckily, we didn't have any money, so we didn't have to do anything nice. We were poor.
Right. No. And that's the beauty of that, actually. But you enjoy whatever you got. You're going to go to the beach. It doesn't have to be a fancy beach. It's just a beach. And as a kid, you don't know any better.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about Bali or Fiji or Hawaii or any of that stuff. It's like Galveston, Texas, for me. It's like, it's the worst beach in the world. But when I was a kid, it was like, man, it's a beach. There's water. I can go play.
I've been to Galveston, Texas. I can agree with you. That beach is pretty crappy.
It is horrible. But as a kid, growing up in Texas as a kid, that was Mecca. That was awesome. Like, it was great.
I agree with you. It's you don't know what you don't know, and that's part of the joy of childhood.
Yep. So, Ryan, where do you want to go next? First job?
Yeah, on this journey, where does it begin? So you're high school, you move into college, or you kind of graduate into college. What's in your mind, right? Do you know what you want to do?
Yeah, because
college.
Yeah, I was about to say college can be that I have no idea and I'll figure it out during the 4 or 5 or 8 years that I'm here, or you can go in going, I know exactly what I want to do.
I've always been envious of those people. I like the people that just walk in. Like I'm like, wow, you're dialed in. I'm slow. I'm dumb. I need time to dial.
When people come in pre-med or pre-law, I'm like, you're gonna change that. You're gonna change it, and they never change it.
I'm pre. I have no understanding of either of these two things.
Yeah.
I've got one son that's that, and one son that's not. So 2 boys, 4 years apart. One of them knew he wanted to be a weapons engineer at 11 years old.
Yeah, that's when
that's very specific.
Yeah,
way specific. So
the school started tracking him at that point, just in case.
Oh yeah, FBI, CIA, everybody's he's on their radar. But so he's going to college, going to get a degree in physics at Texas A&M, going to be in the Corps, and he's already got an Army ROT scholarship, paid for everything, and he's going to go and be in the Army. So this kid knew at a very early age. The 14-year-old, the way I think I'm going to approach that with him is college is a great place to figure yourself out. You know what? Take some classes, try some things. You'll figure it out. Join a fraternity.
Have
some
liberal
fun.
arts. You're going to learn a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Because I think that's what he'll respond to, because he's seen his older brother be so laser focused that he's probably going to react against that. And it's just like, you know what? Hey, listen, college is a great place. Go figure it out. Go have something fun.
Your older son will probably end up working for your younger son one day.
100%.
Probably. Yeah. 100%. He's going to be the Mark Zuckerberg of Texas.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be the scenario. So to think I graduated in high school in Kansas City, I was committed to not go to school as much as possible in high school. So I did work. I had jobs since I was like 12 or 13, and then through that process, went to University of Kansas. Which the great thing about KU at this time is if you graduated from a high school in Kansas, they had to accept you. And because so all I knew is I had a class of 635. I was 615, something like that. I literally like I spent most of my senior year Saturday detentions, and it wasn't because I was doing terrible things. It's just I wasn't showing up.
You weren't engaged. You weren't engaged in the process.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least that was the plan. Except now the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Tuesday on NBC, Jimmy Fallon and Bozoma St. John host the highly anticipated new competition show.
I hired 10 creatives from all walks of life. They will be battling it out to see who can impress the world's biggest brands.
This is a huge opportunity.
This is the battle for the next big idea.
This is not play. We're spending millions of dollars.
I'm so excited to embark on this adventure with all of you.
May the best idea win!
On Brand with Jimmy Fallon. Series premiere Tuesday on NBC.
I was engaged in getting out of there.
100%.
It was their fault for not engaging you.
I graduated with about 1,000 students in my high school, and I didn't know because I was selling drugs. I didn't know if I was going to graduate. I'd failed English in the fall, and in the spring I didn't even show up. So I showed up with my cap and gown, got in line, fully knowing that they might not call my name. But they did. They gave me a piece of paper, and like you can see, like my dad had a camcorder. You can see me opening up the roll of paper. Like, is this just a piece of paper, or is this actually a diploma?
Did they actually print one for me, or just move him along?
I honestly, I thought you were going to say, but then my principal came around the corner and bought a bag for me. That's why I thought this was going.
No.
Not in Kansas City. Kansas City, actually, it's St. Louis where that is the.
That is the thing. I'm sorry, that is. It's St. Louis and New Orleans.
They are great about it in St. Louis. I don't know about New Orleans, but I'm crazy.
It's the same
crazy
thing
about it.
The first thing they ask somebody is like, "Oh, you're from New Orleans? Really? Where'd you go to high school?"
Yeah.
That sets a path of questioning that goes on to this thing. It is St. Louis because Jim Durbin went to high school there. That's how
it is totally not like so. My chairman and our largest investor is based out of St. Louis, and I was picking up this vibe. I've been going to St. Louis since the '80s, but you don't really pay attention. And then when you're doing business there, you start to pick up the vibe. You're like, why does everybody ask about high school?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
high school more. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know, but I did go to KU.
Oh yeah, Rock Chalk J Chalk. So, were you there for some of the championships?
I was. So '88 was my first year, so they won, and then I came in. I was not. They didn't win. They went to 2 Final Fours while I was there. So, but we've gone to. We have a family tradition. We go to Final Fours just to go as family.
Oh, genius.
We've probably been to about 18, 19 of them. And so I've seen KU win. It's 2088. I was there. 2008 I was there, and they're 22. I was there as well.
Nice.
So I was there in Indianapolis at '97 when Arizona won because I was at the University of Arizona.
Yeah, that was the year we were supposed to win.
That is the year y'all were supposed to win. We were a 7th seed or some crazy shit like that when we had a good team. However,
you did.
We beat a lot of people that we weren't supposed to beat.
We were favored to win the national championship, and you guys upset us on the way there.
That is correct.
No, I remember. That was because we had Paul Pierce
yes.
On that dang team, and Paul Pierce had like a 20-year NBA career.
Right.
No. Thanks for reminding me. I just appreciate that.
No worries. No worries.
More of it.
I met.
This is twice in one episode.
This is a coach from Duke,
and then you took him out of the tournament.
No, the coach from Duke, Coach K. I met Coach K coming out of the coming out of the restroom. He was coming in, and I'm like, "Hey, Coach," and he goes, "No autographs." And I'm like, "Dude, we're in a restroom. I was just saying, hey, Coach." My bad. Did I break some type of decorum that I'm unaware of?
Not trying to shake your hand, Coach.
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay, so we're doing one basketball thing. We'll go back to KU. So Jay Billis, when he and Herbie, the guy Herbert Davis, who's now the head coach for UNC, right?
Yep.
We're sideline reporters in 08. And so they were doing the 08 national championship, and they come and we happen to go stand in an elevator, and it's just my wife and I and them. And they start chatting it up, and Jay's Duke guy, right? And so we're just talking, and he finally says, "Well, do you want an autograph?" And he's a super cool guy, by the way. And I'm like, "No, you're a graduate from Duke. I don't want anybody's autograph from Duke." And he just starts laughing his ass off.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm like,
that's genius. That's genius.
I'm like, no way, come on, give me a break. No way.
Now we're good. Thank you. Do you want mine? Do you want my autograph?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
No, college basketball is a great thing.
What did you study at KU?
I was a liberal arts degree. I'm an English major with a minor in German and history.
So liberal arts.
Everything you need for an AI company.
Yeah. How do we transition into
teaches you how to think? Anything in the humanities, it's like the people that are actually going to thrive in the future with prompt engine are all going to be humanities. They're all going to be liberal arts people.
So here was the part of the thesis actually for AstrumU. I mean, there was many. I saw trends in commodifying of cloud services that were going to allow data to be unlocked in ways that people didn't realize yet. Well, I kept looking at the amount of CEOs in tech. They're humanities majors.
Yep.
I mean, Butterfield, Slack, Jack Ma, Alibaba, even Elon Musk, one of his degrees is philosophy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You see this like consistently pattern and you're like, okay, guess what? Those people are coming at it from a totally different angle than what everybody says. And, I'm living instantiation of the same thing. So
that's genius.
But
what was the first job? Yeah. What was the first job out of college?
Yeah, so I got the degree, my first job, I was just like everybody else, because I worked 2 jobs through school. And so I got my first job offer to work in operations at Standard Insurance. I was making, and I didn't take it, by the way, but because I was making, making $35,000 a year waiting tables, tending bars. And they offered me a job for $15,500, and I'd have to go buy a suit. And I didn't know a suit.
So was it the salary or the suit? What was the determining factor here?
Little both. So I turned it down flat. I said, screw it, man. I ain't doing that. And I was waiting tables at my first job. The CEO of this small healthcare company was sitting there talking to me, and he'd come in early. One of my gigs I had was the breakfast place. And he finally looked at me like, he'd talked to me a couple times. I'd wait on him. He's like, what the hell are you doing here, Adam? Like, you were just like, not like one of these things, not like that. I'm like, well, I had a couple job offers and they were all crap and I didn't want to do them. And so he's like, look, come talk to me. So I went in there, negotiated, and they offered me like 18.5 or something. And I said, no, and so I negotiated for 25 with kind of this ramp up. And I come back and tell my dad, and he's like, and I said, well, they wouldn't give me what I wanted. So I negotiated. He's like, based on what? You don't have any damn skills. Like, well, where were you? Where'd you get the balls to even think you could negotiate? I'm like, well, if you don't ask, you don't know.
Yeah,
you were Gen Z before Gen Z.
Yeah.
That's how Gen Z operates right now. I don't have to work. I'm not going to do that. I'll just do Uber Eats, whatever.
Cheers.
Well, the difference is they're living on mom and dad's dime, whereas I was living on my own. So let's just give it straight. Like, if you're living on mom and dad's dime, you can say I don't care for as long as you want.
He negotiated for a reason.
That sounds like you have some personal experience there. So
Yeah,
we'll leave
yeah.
that.
We'll leave that one
Now,
alone.
Sorry
did
about
you
that.
keep the waiter job and the bartending job along?
No.
No. I actually that I did this healthcare thing for about a year and a half, but then I parlayed. This is where my break came. I parlayed. I got lucky, and I to this day still can't quite figure out how it happened. But I ended up going to work for Capgemini Ernst & Young as a senior consultant, and that's where I got my training. I would tell any person who doesn't know, consulting is a wonderful place to go because they'll just throw you into the mix. They'll train you on a bunch of different things, and you'll begin to understand where you see your strengths, whether it's consulting, product, integration, operations, sales, doesn't matter. Technology, being pure technologist. And so I did that for almost 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, and parlayed that then through a bunch of series of other things.
Was Capgemini at that time? There was a period where they would lop off the bottom quartile.
No,
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that they did a little bit of the Jack Welch thing,
Yes.
and GE. Yeah, no, they had just done. So they weren't doing that at that time in the '90s. They were doing. They had grabbed Ernst & Young had spun off their assets, consulting assets. One of 3 times EY sold their consulting assets that they keep building. Capgemini bought them, so it was Capgemini Sagetti. And so I was working for the French, and they had regional practices and national practices. And so I got lucky. I was in a regional practice, so I didn't travel that much.
Right.
I was working on the reason I left consulting is the last job I was doing was Y2K.
Yep.
And and I couldn't get away from the project. Like I had gotten so much institutional knowledge of Transamerica at the time. The CTO, literally, I was telling him like, look, I got 10, 15 hours work. I've already got all your execs doing all this stuff. And like, I don't really care. You know so much about us. We're not taking a chance. And I'm like, so you're going to pay for me to do what? He's like, I don't give a crap. Just stick around.
Just stay there. Just stay in that spot.
And so this is like early ages, like 90s, and so they had a T3 line, which like a T3 line at that time was like, ooh. Yeah. So I was downloading WAV files. Like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds by William Shatner and stuff like that. And I was calling up my wife, who had a real job, by the way. And I'm like, hey, you got to listen to this. She's like, I got work to do. I know you don't. But I didn't have anything for 20 hours a week I was doing.
He was sending Instagram reels to his wife before they were Instagram
reels. Oh, yeah, because he had the bandwidth. No one else. He had all the bandwidth.
P3. Yeah.
It was cool, and then I go home and get on my dial-up, and it sucked. That's where you got the 56K, and you're like, "Oh wow, this is awesome!"
This is what the internet shouldn't be. Great, thanks.
So, but that parlayed and through a series of steps, I ended up at SBC Datacom. Then, really, where my distributed data cloud services background came from is working in the CDN space first for Akamai, and then for Limelight Networks, and then Amazon in the middle. And that gave me an appreciation for distributed data cloud services and ultimately artificial intelligence and some of the power of, that could be done with machine learning, natural language processing, and ultimately large language models.
Who was the most advanced of those at that time? Because that's a while back, but who was already kind of on the bleeding edge?
Yeah, well, I mean, Akamai in the day, and I was there from 0 to 4, which was a brutal period at first, and then an awesome period at the end.
Right.
They were cutting it. Like they were doing some stuff people hadn't done before for distributed services and content at the edge. I mean, but the office I was in Seattle had, when I started in 2000, had 176 people, and then by 2002, had 2. Which I was one. And, and so this is like the .com blow up. And there was this after effect, which you guys might remember, like a lot had happened in 2001, but 9/11 was the last straw for a lot of employers because they kind of, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but they really used it as the excuse to finish off everything 100%. They didn't want to do originally, 100%. But now they could justify it.
Well, it's like COVID, same thing. COVID, the beginning of COVID was an excuse to, hey, we're bloated. We need to trim. Let's do a layoff. Let's do a RIF, and we'll blame it on COVID.
We don't know what to do.
Oh my God! Yeah, something like that. So, and then it turned around for Akamai. It turned way around after that. And they kind of blew up, not in a bad way. They got big.
They've been big. I mean, they're massive. They're like a $20 billion market cap company now. And I think, it's funny, when I left Akamai, I left it in 2004 to go to work for AWS. When AWS was, Jassie's org was like, when I left AWS after 3.5 years, Jassie's org was still under 100 people. AWS Enterprise funded what is EC2, S3, and then ultimately the AWS machine. Right. And that was the outsourcing of Target, the outsourcing of, Victoria's Secret, yada, yada, yada. And so I did that for years. But when I left Akamai at the time, people were like, I was doing product, I was doing sales, I was doing corp dev. I was, a little bit of everything. And they're like, move back to Boston. I'm like, I'd rather kill myself. I'm like, and that was the executive track. Like, if you wanted to be a VP, you got to be in Boston. I'm like,
that's right.
I'll visit Cambridge, but I ain't living there.
Right.
But good learning experiences, especially for microservices and really thinking about like the future. AWS and Akamai in those years, in the early aughts, were so on the cutting edge. So, I mean, you really got a chance to think about how architecture and cloud services, like my first company we founded, we bought the hardware still.
Right.
But by my third company, if somebody told me I want to buy a box, I'd slap them.
Yeah.
That's a dumb idea.
When did you make the transition from working for a company into founding your own company?
Yeah. That 2009.
What drove that?
Like if I could talk to your younger self, or and I tell this to kids that I ask for mentorship or help all the time. I'm like, look, you'll never be ready to be a founder or an entrepreneur.
Great.
Don't think there's some point and trick at which here's where the snap. Just jump in. And they go, well, I don't know this, or I don't know cap tables, or I don't know how to raise capital. I don't know.
Perfect data.
He literally just asked the question that I asked to himself.
Yeah. Like you figure it out. Like I didn't, And so in 2009, I was working for Limelight. I was running about 2/3 of the revenue directly or indirectly. And I was sitting there watching the cloud services trends. And I saw the enterprise was going to jump on this, and they didn't know how to. And I thought we could make some enterprise type environments in cloud services that would resonate for traditional applications, specifically for the operations people who were being ignored. Everybody was looking to developers in the late aughts, not thinking about the ops people who manage the real budget for applications. And so
was it managed services that you were tackling in particular?
No, it wasn't like an ASP or managed service component.
Okay.
We were trying to create what we see you left, but because you know the tech. Like we were creating a shared cloud environment, which was going to be a public cloud experience in a private cloud format.
Huh.
So we would give you all the confidence from SOC compliance component, all the of like it's your own dedicated equipment, but it's actually a shared environment.
Right.
And so, and then what we did is we made an interface that was incredibly intuitive, especially for operations people, but could be used by the developers as well. And it got traction. NetApp ended up outsourcing everything from traditional apps like mail to some of their apps that they just didn't want to keep in-house. Heck, we had Microsoft outsource their legal stuff because legally they couldn't run on their own systems. They had to show that they were running it in a third party, but they didn't want to just put it in any place.
And your cloud, you had redundancy around the world. So if something went down, right.
Well, redundancy around the world is a relative statement, right?
Yeah.
But for a $10 million company, But we did have multiple pops, and then we ended up doing a deal with a hosting company that got us some international pops to service clients like Warner Music Group. But we like when I did it, I didn't take any money for like the first year and a half, 2 years.
Entrepreneur.
I found a scrap kid who had done some stuff. We kind of pulled it all together, and we figured it out. So I was co-founding it with it, and ultimately, that ended up rolling into a company that at about 12-13 million was sold to CenturyLink for just under 200 million.
Wow.
So, and I think like if I think about the things, I didn't have a clue how to raise capital at the time. I had to go figure it all out from scratch, and there was no way to go. Like now there's so much tools out there. You can go out and search for like, hey, how do I do? There's so much advice from VCs because it saves them time too.
Sure.
Like a Sequoia is a really good resource for young entrepreneurs. Like, you want to understand how to pitch deck? They give you a new content for pitch deck every year. I didn't have any network that was that fixated. My network was more traditional network from the industries I was in, and I didn't even know the first thing. I knew how to run a P&L and stuff like that, but I didn't know how I was going to apply it. Just figured it out. OJT all the way.
You throw yourself in the deep end of the pool, you'll figure out how to swim.
Yeah, and if you don't, you drown.
Turns out.
So,
there's a bit of natural selection that gets played out there.
But I mean, that's all right. Like, this is the thing. I like it's fun as heck, even when everything doesn't go the right way.
It's still better than working a job in a cube.
I'm ruined. I mean, I don't know. You do it for a while. Well, but the thing about this, here's the pitch.
It is true.
The pitch to your wife, right? Or spouse if you're female.
Yeah.
The pitch to spouse is they're going to be like, okay, let me get this straight.
You're going to leave this job,
a really good paying job, with insurance and everything.
Yep.
And we're going to do this thing that literally you might make zilch. Hell, we might even go into debt. I'm like, that's the pitch.
That's the bit. Yeah.
And so how I countered the pitch, the counter pitch is, here, I'm going to be more valuable to companies. So even if I fail, I'll get a better job because I was the guy that took those risks.
That's a pretty good pitch.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good pitch.
And it paid off.
It worked out.
Ever have to go back and get a job?
No.
Oh no.
Well,
no.
I haven't had a real job since 2009.
Yeah, I was about to say. And that's
there we go.
Once you go down this path, you're ruined of, again, going into an office, or even if you're not going into an office, working the way that you want to work with the people that you want to work. You don't have to deal with all those other things that happen in corporate America. And so the last question for me is, what type of person thrives around you? I have certain types of people that thrive around me, that help me thrive. So what are those types of people for you?
Well, there's an underpinning lesson in this particular question that I'm gonna pull back, because I think it's at the heart of your question. Because if you're asking what people thrive around you, what you're really asking is, what are your strengths versus what weaknesses do you have that you can shore up?
Right.
And I had a boss back in the aughts.
Ryan, do you notice how you brought it back to skills?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you notice that?
He's not successful.
Like a ninja. We'll bring it back to. Go
ahead. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I had a boss back in the aughts who I hated, by the way. But he gave me one thing. Like, I learned a couple different things from him, but one thing from him that really stuck with me is like, look, Adam, you're really good at vision, setting the stage for execution, pulling the pieces together, understanding how it's going to go. And Yada Kid went through a couple other things. But he's like, you hate the minutia. You hate the details. And he's like, and you can't keep yourself in it forever. So you better partner up with people who love living in that shit. And I've thought about it, and I'm like, damn, he's right, man. It's like, I can do it, but I really hate it.
It sounds like work. Not interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I'll do execution. Just don't make me stay in that shit forever.
Ryan's about to have a seizure. This sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does.
I know the relationship. I understand the relationship now between you two.
I know why I'm here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for helping me with the download on Chrome.
Yeah. Ryan, do you wrap us up? Wrap us up with a question or whatever you want to.
I've got a lot of questions, but we're going to wrap it up. I got it. We didn't get to talk about everything. We got to talk about everything but the thing.
That's a part 2.
That's a part 2. Yeah. So you kind of answered this in a way when you were talking about mentoring younger kids. Mm-hmm. What would older Adam of today, tell the 7-year-old Adam that was selling rooms? What do you tell yourself back then? What's the wisdom?
Yeah, I don't know about the 7-year-old Adam, whether he could absorb it and let's say he bought some candy with me or something. But I do think if I could amend the question a little bit just to the younger, someone that's younger, whether it's me or
It's all
someone
about
else.
skills again. So here we go.
It's really about taking risks.
Right.
There's a couple of things in the equation. Like I don't know if you guys ever read Jocko Willink's Extreme Accountability.
Yes.
Or Extreme, and I'm like he hits it right. Like, look, you have to own it all. And so as a CEO, the buck, just as a founder, the buck always stops with you.
Right.
And so you have to get really comfortable with that, which means you have to get comfortable making decisions with 10 to 20% of the actual information you need. You have to get comfortable with pushing out risk and being accountable to take the fall and not push it onto other people because ultimately you own it, and so people need to wrap their head around, if I'm willing to push myself, it doesn't matter if I'm the gregarious person or the really quiet person. I think that's BS. There's a lot of successful CEOs that are not gregarious, who are very introverts, who bring different talents to table.
Right.
So don't pigeonhole any of that. I would tell people, but if you're thinking of it, don't wait. Like if I could do one thing over, I would have started my CEO journey at 29, not 39.
Right.
Because I would be so much farther along. And I've had 3 companies now. One of them has had a great outcome. One of them, this one is on a massive to a great growth, great opportunity. And then I had one failure in the middle where, I got a PhD on how to do everything wrong so that I wouldn't do it again. But I learned. And so, I just think, I feel like I talk to these people and they're like, oh, I'm kind of waiting for this. I'm waiting for that. Screw it. Jump in the pool. In fact, I would argue right now, the best time ever, when the economy is down and things are kind of not going so great, people pull back. And that's when great companies are made. If my advice would be, don't wait, own it all, take risks, and be comfortable with failure, because failure means you're learning and growing and pushing. Now, don't accept it like, well, I'm a loser, but, say, hey, what can I take from this? And then apply it to the next thing so that you don't have to go relearn that. Or as I tell my employees, I'll underwrite 10 to 20% of your failure every single day. But I have 2 asks. One is, I just paid for your MBA in that experience. So what did you learn? So what's the skills we can pull out of this one? And 2, go share it with as many of your colleagues as possible so I don't have to write their MBA too.
Right. All right. So one more question. I got to ask another question. So you have a failure, right? And this happens. This is going to happen a lot. So a lot of people are going to listen to this. They're going to have failures. How do you have a massive failure, pick up and keep going? How do you not get bogged down in that failure?
The analysis paralysis part of it.
Yeah. How do you just move forward and pick up?
Yeah. Well, so we started the show that there's probably some innate components that do happen to trickle into the DNA of people who really are going to be founders or entrepreneurs. And by the way, I doesn't people that don't have those, they just might have to recognize they need to quickly move out of the lead role after their ideas germinated, because maybe they don't have enough of that. But I think one of them is, a propensity or willingness to push themselves, take risks. But the other one, which is an answer to your question, is resiliency. You have a choice on how 90% of the world is how you choose to respond to it. And so I could respond to the fact that I had, what I learned later on, I've been in 2 lawsuits because of this, that the investors sued each other because one of them was crooked. I didn't know this at the time. And they end up suing each other. Well, you're CEO, you get sued too. So I was in 2 lawsuits. So I'm like, I got that checkbox for you, no problem. End up having to pay some of that big chunk out of my own pocket because the D&I was like, guess what? We're going to fight you on how much we have to cover, and stuff like that. But all that taught me so much. And so I could have said, hey, bad investors, had to go through this, all this crappy culture I had to turn around. Instead, I said, what can I learn? So I'm like maniacal about culture now. Why? Because I inherited a company that was a rebuild, which we took from a tear down after we laid off 100 people back from 2 million to almost 20. and then almost recapped the whole thing with $40 million investment in JMCI before the founders got in a fight and the whole thing fell apart, or the investors and the more original founder. But through it, I learned pay a lot of attention to who you're in bed with for your investors. And don't take any of that stuff for granted because you are marrying them, even if you don't know it. I learned that culture is everything. You know, Drucker says culture eats strategy every day of the week. What he really means is if you preach a culture, view a culture, and get people to be cultural founders out of the gate, they can help amplify your business in ways that you could never do on your own. And so those lessons are now imbued in me in a way that I think is key to some of the success we're seeing right now.
Ryan, I tend to look at failure like defensive backs in football that just got burned for a touchdown. They don't have time to think about being burned because they're going to roll out on defense the next set. They can't think about what just happened. They've got to be in that moment. Now after the game, for the next week, they could go back and learn some things with their coaches, etc. But in that moment,
right,
they can't think about it. They don't have time to think about it because if they're thinking about it, they're not going to be covering the wide receiver or the tight end or whatever.
Sports is always a great analogy for business. Yeah. It's like Roger Federer does a bad shot. Next one didn't even realize it's happened. Right. You have to forget it. You choose to, but I think the key is you got to choose to learn. And so to your point, the D-back will study that film later on, but right now he's like, screw it. What can I take? I got to go to the next.
We'll study it on the sideline.
Oh yeah. But it's learning. It's taking that failure and not allowing yourself to go down the rabbit hole where you're blaming yourself and all that guilt and shame and all that stuff that gets piled on. And it's like, no, that was a failure, but it taught me this. So the best coaches, the best CEOs are the ones that say, what did it teach you? What did you learn?
I love the fact that it forces a person. I always tell people, like, look, if you failed, that means you pushed yourself to growth. And you're going to fail because you don't know where the edge is. And that's all right.
That's right.
Let's take away from it.
I've done this, and it offends a lot of people. But I've said, if you don't fail daily, you're not pushing hard enough. Well, to the link to now that's for a lot of folks, that's a little bit too much. But the idea is like you're soft. You're not pushing yourself hard enough so that you fail.
Which
ultimately
causes a shuttering of the business anyhow.
That's right. I mean,
keep failing.
At the end of the day,
fail
odds
fast,
are so
learn
massively,
fast.
Are we still
move on? But
everybody locked up. Can you hear me?
Way too much of your time.
Yeah, that's all right. But I was going to say the odds are stacked so massively against starting a business. You might as well just throw everything you got it and see where it lands.
That's a great point. With that, we will wrap. Adam, thank you for coming on. Thank you for educating the audience. We appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. Hey, definitely, William. Enjoyed as always, my friend. And Ryan, it was great. I know your role now. Completely understand everything. Completely new dynamics for you too.
I understand where I sit.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
That's all right.
I'm accepting my role, and I'm moving forward. That's it.
You're crushing it. You're crushing it, my friend.
That's it.